Are we live? I hope we're live. And I hope you can hear me. If you're here and you are in the chat and you can hear me and it all looks fine, then do please let me know. I haven't actually got the chat directly in front of me at the minute because I've got my presentation in front of me. I've got my little, excuse me, PowerPoint in front of me, but I will be able to check in on the chat. So if you do have questions, you want to, contribute to the chat, that's like literally the whole point of doing this. And I will be able to check in on it, but I haven't got it directly in front of me. So just be aware that there might be a slight lag and I am not ignoring you. So, hi. So this live stream is basically about the different revenue streams for makeup artists. So it's different ways that you can kind of take your makeup skills and adapt them, and the different ways that you can use them to form streams, multiple streams of revenue. And also I want to talk a little bit about how you can combine them as well. So it's not just about having one singular revenue stream, it's about how you can take multiple different streams of revenue, put them together so that you have much more of a safety net is what I'm going to say. And also just good ways of diversifying. So I'm not gonna talk for too long before I get into the presentation itself, but just want to talk a little bit about why I wanted to deliver this specific subject as a live stream. So I've been teaching makeup for a really long time, and I've been teaching it in private colleges and regular colleges, universities, all sorts of different things like that. And one of the questions that I get asked an awful lot at like open events or on the run up to people starting a course or even midway through is, yeah, but is it really a job? And can you actually make money from it? And how much money can you make from it? And I feel like it is one of those industries that kind of is a bit mystical in people don't really talk about the values and the money elements of it because it's a little bit vague and a bit strange, and there isn't much in the way of like published like financial information. And because obviously the jobs don't really get advertised as such in the way that, like, you know, I don't know, like getting a job in an office might, there isn't really values on like revenue. So there isn't really like, oh, this is how much you will make per hour, or this is how much you'll make annually, because obviously it's a creative industry, so it's really flexible and it's subject to change as well. So I wanted to break down a load of those kinds of things and just demystify some of the stuff and maybe give you some ideas. Some of this stuff you guys might be doing already if you're already an established makeup artist, or it might be, you know, give you ideas of what you could add into your business. It also might be useful if you're looking at going into the industry and you're not really sure how you can possibly make money by doing it, basically. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through a variety of different kind of options. I'm going to break down some of the different kind of ways that you can look at your different like revenue streams, and I'm going to break down some pros and some cons. But before we get started, if you've got any questions, just put them in the chat now, and I will have a little look at those. So I'll give you just a few minutes to have a little pop a little quick question in the chat, and I will have a little check on my chat there. Bear with me, I'm just gonna have a look at not ignoring you, looking at the screen. I have to do a little lean around. Yeah, if you've got any questions, put them in the chat now, and I will pop up with an answer if I've got one, you know. And you can talk about anything, it doesn't have to be about this, you know. The people in the chat, are you makeup artists? Are you looking at going into the industry? Are you a trainee? What is the current situation for you? You know, what's brought you to my live stream is what I want to know. Just gonna let you know as well, I have also got a little glass of water here because I'm going to talk a lot, because that's what I do, talk a lot. And after a while, I get a bit croaky. So I need a good old glug of water. Okay, shall we jump right into this? I'm going to ask my techie man, are we good to go? Techie man, are we good to go? Yes? Okay, cool. So hopefully what you should be able to see now on your screen is this very fancy PowerPoint presentation. I am such a teacher. I love making PowerPoint presentations. I think it's like my second favourite thing after eating cake. And this is very much a PowerPoint presentation. Now, I'm going to try and not rattle through this too quickly, but also I'm going to try not to talk too much. I haven't put a ton of information on these slides because I am going to talk around the information quite a lot. So if you're a note taker, this would definitely be, I'd definitely say take some notes because it's not all going to be here or written on the slides. So 7 revenue streams. I've actually gone for more than 7. So I've actually added some extra ones in, but we'll get to those a little bit later on. So if you're not really understanding or you're not really sure about what we mean by having multiple revenue streams, multiple revenue streams is something that is really encouraged if you are working in the creative industry, if you are self-employed, and more people now, even those that are employed in like full-time jobs and stuff like that, are tending to have maybe a second or even a third stream of revenue. And this is just like having a safety net. So it's that old thing that, you know, your mum or your nan or your dad or whatever would say to you about not putting all your eggs in one basket. It's about having another source of income should something happen to the first one, or it's also about taking a stream of income and diversifying it in a way that you can make more money from the same skill set. So we sometimes refer to it when we're talking in colleges or in schools about transferable skills, and it's kind of like that. So you're going to hear me say multiple streams of revenue, blah, 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 all the time, and that's what I mean. Right, we're going to jump straight into this. So the very first one that a makeup artist might work in is freelance work. So I've lumped this together, even though it actually is an umbrella for a whole load of different kind of industry events and types of work. And the reason I've lumped it together, and you'll notice I'm going to do this a lot throughout, is because technically although they're very, very different, the kind of way that they work and the way that you will work are all quite similar. So freelance work would include things like photo shoots. It would include working in television and film. It might include working in commercials, e-commerce, which if you don't know what that is, that's doing makeup on shoots for the likes of, you know, Boohoo or any kind of online only kind of shopping experience. You might work in online or social media content exclusively, so that is where you work on shoots and production that is specifically for online content. And you might be a freelance worker at events, so that might be things like you know, fashion shows and runway shows and stuff like that. Now, freelance work has a really varied pay scale, and it's quite complex to break down, and I'm going to say that loads because that's kind of the case with all of these different things, to be honest. But to give you a rough idea, as a freelancer, you're going to be looking at charging per day for anywhere between sort of 150 to 350 pounds per day. Now that is if we're taking into account your sort of 8 to 10 hour day. Okay, so just keep in mind that that's your sort of standard day, but it is varying quite considerably. Now, at the bottom end of £150 here, the reason I've put that at the bottom end is because anything that's below that, really, from a professional standpoint in this industry, is becoming more like work experience or expenses. Really, 150 is very much on the low end. And with this kind of work, you're setting the rate, really. So you will negotiate the rate with the person that you work with, and they will either agree or you might negotiate to reach a certain rate. The £350, just to let you know where I've got that from, looking at different union rate cards. So they are the people who are sort of saying, this is what you should be charging. This is their kind of sort of average for people who are not new entrants into the industry, but are also not experts, so not designers. This is the kind of standard sort of middle of the road. So this just gives you an idea of what you can earn, really. And we're going to go through some pros and cons, because obviously everybody's lifestyle is different and your access to work is different. You've all got different personal circumstances, so it's really important to keep that in mind. Okay, so let's look at some pros and cons, and I can talk about some of these in quite a lot of detail because they're types of work that I actually do or have done. I've done most of them. There's very few that I haven't, to be honest with you. But let's just talk a little bit about pros and cons. So the pros of this kind of freelance work is, are we just adjusting some sound? Yeah, we're just adjusting. So if you can't hear me, just bear with it, it'll get a little bit better. And if you can hear clicking in the background, it's me techie fella, just sorting stuff. So pros, you rarely work weekends in this kind of work. So this kind of work is a little bit more like your sort of standard midweek work. Now, some things do shoot at weekends, pickup shots and long in-depth shoots, but generally this kind of work takes place during the week. It can be very lucrative, so you can make a lot of money doing this, in the sense that, as you saw, that day rate can be quite high in comparison to any other sort of standard job that you do. There's lots of opportunities to travel in this work, so obviously at the moment that is a little bit limited, but when you get really good with this kind of thing, you might shoot abroad, you might do shoots in beautiful parts of the world on locations, which is a fantastic opportunity. There is an element of flexibility with this work as well, in the sense that you can kind of pick and choose when you work. So you are not committed to a 9 to 5. Obviously, it's only as flexible as your options are, but still that is a pro. You might get to work with really exciting clients. You might get to work with brands that you really love and admire. Maybe you'll get to work with big beauty brands, or you might get to work on TV shows or movies that you really love. Some of the work could be quite high profile, so that will raise your profile and ultimately raise your day rate. So if you are working on something that is going to get a lot of coverage, maybe it's going to be in a big magazine, maybe it's going to be a big Netflix show, obviously that then raises your profile so you can charge more. So that scale might actually work more quickly. You might move through the scale more quickly based upon what you work on. And the other pro of this kind of work is that once you are really well established, you will rarely have to advertise your work or search for clients. It's kind of a snowballing effect. Again, you raise your profile, people know who you are, you meet people, you go from job to job to job, and that's kind of how it works. Now, a couple of cons here. I just want to point out as well, when I'm talking about pros and cons, some of the things I've put in the pro for you might be cons. This is the thing, it depends on your personal situation. So these things can really swap and change and are really interchangeable, but useful to know all the same. You often get very short notice on these jobs, and this is something that I would say to students quite frequently, is that if you have commitments at home, i.e. small children, care duties, maybe you live in a remote area, lots of these kinds of freelance jobs come in at very short notice. So what that means is that you need to have a plan, so that if somebody says, listen, when we say short notice, I'm talking about a day, maybe if you're fortunate, a couple of days notice. It's really rare actually that you will get weeks and weeks to plan. So just keep in mind that you need to think about, is there someone that can jump in to look after the children? Is there a way that you can get to locations quicker? Have you got a car? All that kind of stuff, okay? You will have periods of no work. So, it's not unless you're very, very well established, it's not guaranteed that you will work all of the time. You could have 2 weeks where you don't work, and then you might work for 6 weeks without a break. And that's really important to keep in mind. You are responsible for your own finances in this industry. So that means, you are self-employed. You've got to work out all your expenses, make sure that you're doing your invoices. It's a whole other job on its own, okay? I'm going to refer to that a lot. That's going to come up a lot, just so you know. Okay, I'll try and not go over it again and again. But the hours of work vary dramatically in freelance work. Remember, that's what we're talking about at the moment. So when I say dramatically, what I mean is one day on a shoot, you might start at 6 in the morning. And when I say start, I mean have a call time of being on set at 6 a.m. And you might work through till, I don't know, 5, with obviously a break in the middle. And on the next day, you might start work at 5 in the evening and work right through till 6 in the morning if it's a night shoot. So that's something to keep in mind. If you struggle with being able to adapt to different work hours for lots of different reasons, you need to think about that a lot. It can take many years to build up clients. You're not going to step onto, unless you've got good connections, obviously, you are not going to step onto the next big Netflix show tomorrow just because you decided to do freelance work. You are going to have to work your way up. You might have to do a fair amount of work at low, paid, or even for free. I'm not going to get into the morality of that. This is not a morality ethics presentation for makeup. We're talking about revenue streams. So you will make of that what you will, but you might have to do quite a bit of low paid or no paid work initially to get those clients, and so that people can see what you can do. And jobs are rarely advertised. You have to seek the work yourself. It is quite rare that you will be able to go onto Indeed or any of their Monster or whatever and find people going, oh, we're looking for a makeup artist for our runway show for Dior. It just doesn't happen. You have to be very proactive in looking for work. So that's freelance work. The other thing that you could do is you could rent a chair in a salon or do salon work. Now, I've put this down as rent a chair because if you are employed in a salon, that's great, but that is, again, its own sort of kind of stream of revenue. Normally how this works, and particularly for those that are new to industry, this normally works in a way that you will pay a percentage of everything that you make to the person who's you're renting the chair from, so the salon owner, or you might pay a weekly fee, and then it's on you to earn enough money to cover the fee and obviously make a profit as well. So it's really hard, again, to quantify values on this. So again, I looked at some of the sort of averages. I did a little bit of research. It very much depends where you live. It depends on the kind of makeup you do. And it depends on the reputation that you have. You know, are you well known for doing something very technical and specific? You might be able to charge more. You know, are you considered a specialist in that field is what I'm saying. So anywhere from £15 per face to £45 a face. But actually, I know some people who work down south who charge for specialist services that charge a lot more than this top end. Okay, anything below £15 is, again, looking more at being like studenty, work experience-y type things. I think really anything below 15 is not really considered a professional rate of any kind. You've got to keep in mind that it costs you money every time you do someone's face of makeup. Now, the sort of makeup you would be doing in this scenario is going to be different from what you would be doing as a freelancer. So you might be doing occasions, you might be doing party makeup, you might be doing makeovers, so that's people that just want to come and get a makeover, and predominantly night out makeup, so people going on a night out, the pub, restaurants, whatever. Very different from your freelancer work. Very different styles of makeup from your freelancer work, I must say. So some pros and cons, again, these are interchangeable depending on who you are and what your lifestyle's like, but you will mostly work weekends. Now, your most lucrative time in this job is going to be mostly working at weekends. Thursday, Friday, Saturday is really going to be the one, and then sometimes Sundays around particular holidays will be very, very important. Also, things like bank holidays, you know, you might have a fully booked Sunday because everyone's going out Sunday night because they're off work Monday and they all want to go out and get disgustingly drunk. Or just have a lovely time and not drink. That's all fine. Might still want the makeup done. You know, got to cover all bases here. This can be very lucrative in the sense that if you do the sums on this and you work out how many people you can get through the door and in the chair in a day, over the course of a weekend, if you are an efficient makeup artist, you work quickly and effectively, you can get quite a few people through that chair, and quite a lot of makeup artists that specialize in this area might only work Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and that's all that they need to do for the week. So that's great. You know, again, flexible. You pick your hours. You decide how you work. One of the big advantages of this is that you are based in one location. You are not humping your kit around. You are not like with the freelancer where you know, getting it in and out of the car, trying to figure out where you're supposed to be. You can set up a lovely single location in a salon. Kit's always there. And it's a little bit easier and probably a little bit less stressful. If you get loyal clients, you can build up a real loyal clientele that will come back to you again and again, which is lovely. And you then form really nice relationships with those clients. You benefit from the existing client base. So if you rent a chair in a very popular, well-established hair salon, beauty salon, you know, you can benefit from the clients and the people that are already in that salon. So you don't have to necessarily search for new clients. They will see you working in that salon and then hopefully take you up on those services. There's opportunities for cross-selling. So that means you could retail products that you have, and you could also cross-sell services. So we'll talk about this a little bit later on, but it is possible that if you're doing other beauty services, you could cross-sell those as well. So if someone's going on a night out, maybe you do a set of gel nails for them. You could also sell them a set of eyelashes that they're then going to have as part of their makeup look. So there's lots of little tricky opportunities in there to do extra things. And it's free to advertise. So for this kind of work, you know, if you've got a Facebook, if you've got an Instagram, you're away. You can advertise for free. It's not like the old days where you had to take out an ad in Yellow Pages and, you know, try and stand out amongst all the other salons, all the other services. You can advertise very freely and very quickly, very easily online. A couple of the cons. It can be quiet midweek. It can be very competitive. There's a lot of people doing this. You know, you might have to work quite hard to stand out and find a style that's very specific to you. You need a lot of kit. I know from doing this myself, you go through a lot of kit. You go through a lot of disposable kit. So mascara on, sponges, wipes, you go through a ton of that stuff. Just like with freelance work, you are responsible for your own finances. Even if you rent a chair, you are not employed necessarily by that person. So you have got to keep your expenses, log everybody who's paying you, make sure it all works out and be on top of that. It can be very repetitive. So the best way to explain this is once a really specific style of makeup kind of comes into fashion. So once Kim Kardashian wears, I don't know, like a glittery blue eyeliner or whatever, or Kylie Jenner puts like a yellow blob in the corner of her eye, you might find you're doing that on everybody for about 6 weeks. So it can be quite repetitive. I mean, you'll get really good at it, but you might get bored, and that's just something to think about. And you have to stay up to date with the latest trends. You have to keep training, practicing, because people will push you, clients will push you for whatever is new, whatever's fresh on the block. You can't develop one look, and then go, right, this is what I do. You will become out of date very quickly. You'll be surprised how quickly that happens, especially with Instagram and all this kind of thing. We're going to move on to weddings. If anyone's got any questions, please drop them in the chat. At this point, I'm going to take a quick break for a sip of water. And it's just water. It's Sunday, do you know what I mean? We were doing this on a Friday night. It might be a different beverage, but it's not. It's Sunday morning. I did have a brew, but I've drank now. Any questions from anybody in the chat? I'm sorry, I'm going to lean. You're going to get like a big ear blob. Just throw them in the chat if you do have them, and I will. We can always jump in midway through. So weddings. Now I've got weddings down as mobile here because you might actually obviously do this from your renter chair. But mobile weddings tend to be a little revenue stream on their own, and that's just worth keeping in mind. So weddings as a mobile makeup artist might include doing makeup on brides, mother of the bride, bridesmaids, grooms, wedding guests, and you might work alone, or you might work with a team of hairstylists as well, or a team of other makeup artists. Now, weddings as a mobile business is interesting because we often think of it's just about doing the bride and the bridesmaids, but actually there's quite a lot of opportunities in wedding makeup to do wedding guests. So a couple of times myself, when I was working doing weddings mobile, I would go to the house of a wedding guest, and they would get other wedding guests they know there as a group, and they would get ready together, and I would do their makeup. So not the bridal party at all, but still, I might do 5 or 6 makeups in the morning, getting all the friends ready that aren't part of the bridal party, and that's quite nice to do as well. So there is a lot of opportunities for this kind of thing. Now, again, I've done a bit of research on this. I've tried to work out an average for the UK. So the average per hour you should be looking at is about £55 per hour. So anything from £100 to £350 for this kind of service, and it really depends on the amount of people that you're doing. It depends on are you doing lots of trials? Are you doing a single trial? You have to work out what it's worth for you. So the easiest way to do that is, what do you want to be paid per face? And who are you spending the most time on? So when you try and cost this, the best way to do it is to think, well, your bride is going to be the focus of your attention. They're going to probably get more time and more attention, so they are going to be the more expensive of the party, and then it can trickle down based on that. Sounds awful to say you're prioritizing people, but of course you are. That's how it has to be. It's your time that they're paying for and your skills. So this gives you a rough idea of the sort of money you can make, but this is not an exclusive amount. It ranges all the way up. Anything below £100 again is probably more like a work experience situation. Okay, you have to think about your costs to do the job as well. Let's look at some pros and cons. Now, this is mostly weekend work. People do get married all week, and I have done plenty of midweek weddings, but mostly it is going to be weekend work. And that is because people want to know that their guests can attend their wedding. And obviously, in the week, that's more complicated for them. So people tend to prioritize weekends. It can be very lucrative. As you've seen, there is quite a large scale, and the more specialist you get at this, the more you can charge. Often you're home by lunch. Most people in the UK specifically will get married 11, 12, 1, 2 o'clock, which means that you are out of there with a good maybe half an hour before they actually go down the aisle. So you could start at 7 in the morning, be home by lunch. So you will have earned a full day's pay in half a day, essentially. So the afternoons are normally your own. You will get to go to some unbelievably beautiful locations. Wedding venues are stunning. Castles, beautiful country manors, houses, gardens, just gorgeous. They're designed to be beautiful, and it really is very lovely to go to them. And sometimes if you're really good, you might even get flown to destination weddings, which might be in beautiful parts of Spain, Italy, places like that. It's very rewarding. It's a lovely job. It's lovely to be part of that situation and to watch everyone get ready. And you know, it's a very fulfilling thing to do as a makeup artist. Just like with your salon work, there's opportunities to cross-sell. Maybe you'd have other services that you do, nails, facials, stuff like that. And again, you can advertise very easily for free. So you can use your social media to advertise, post beautiful pictures of bridal makeups you've done, and you will be able to get bookings through your social media. A couple of cons. There's always cons, isn't there? There's always a trade-off we have to do. It can be very seasonal, less so now, I think, than it used to be. I mean, I think there used to literally be a wedding season, but people do get married all year, but it can be quite seasonal, particularly if people want to get married outdoors. You know, summer tends to, I would say from my own experience, actually, I would say from my own experience that it's more likely that people get married, say, sort of Easter time-ish, when spring hits, and then it kind of gears up a bit more from there. You have to be very organised and very fast. Speed is really important. If you're going to make money, you need to be able to take on groups of people. The locations can be quite remote. Now, this is something you have to think about. Now, I know this from my own experience, getting stuck in my car in the mud in some very remote locations. You have to be willing and able to get to remote locations. If you rely on buses and trains, this could be really problematic. Okay, I actually don't know how you would do this without access to a car, or someone that can help you to get places. This is where you could maybe link up with other hairstylists or other team members if you don't have a car, don't have access to one. Here's the big kicker. You've got to be calm under pressure. If you're a flapper, if you're someone that gets stressed, freaked out, loses the plot when other people start losing the plot, you're going to have to practice that. Because let me tell you, everything that can go wrong at a wedding morning will go wrong. One bridesmaid will bust out of her dress. You know, someone will fall out with someone else. A child will vomit. Yeah, I'm telling you now, it can go wrong at the morning of a wedding. It will go wrong. So you have to be calm under pressure. And you also sometimes have to be a bit forthright in the reason that you're there. So, you know, there's been a couple of times in my own jobs where I've actually sort of had to go, everyone stop. I need to do X, Y, and Z by this time. So whatever's happening, everyone needs to leave me and this person alone for 20 minutes. And people might be like, oh, listen to the makeup artist. But let me tell you, they'll be more annoyed if everyone's not ready because you were being a little bit too nicey nice. So you have to be calm and forthright under pressure. Again, you're responsible for your own finances. And again, you need a lot of kit, tons of kit. Stuff goes missing at weddings. I'm not saying why. I'm not making accusations, but let me tell you now, stuff goes missing at weddings. Big stuff. Brushes, lip glosses, foundations. You're in other locations, very busy. There's lots of stuff lying around. Things go missing at weddings. I'm just saying. Okay, direct selling. So again, just really, really quickly, I want to just say that we do not have, I'm not making any moral kind of ethical conversations about this. You need to make sure and check any company that you decide to work for doing direct selling is legitimate and safe and all the rest of it, but it is an option. I can't not talk about this. Direct selling, if you don't know, is where you are selling products directly to people. Think Body Shop, think Avon, think Lime Life. This is what I'm talking about. Okay, so this is the selling in a non-retail environment. So selling from home, selling online. This is commission-based normally. So there are other incentives. I think you can get like gifts and free products and stuff like that. But generally, you're looking at commission sales, and the averages range from 5% to 35%. Now, that 35% commission is actually quite good. That's quite high in terms of commission sales. But again, like everything, there are pros and cons. So the great thing about direct selling is that you can work from home. You get to pick your own hours. And there is an unlimited earning potential. So it's a little bit different from, when you work in freelance work, or when you work, in a regular office job, where there are tiers of profit. That's unlimited. It's you can earn as much as you are willing to put in, essentially. This is a great way of building your kit if you're starting out and you need products. Obviously, some of the incentives might be that you actually get some product, so that's a great way of building your kit. Generally, it's free to advertise for this kind of work. Again, social media is a perfect way to do it. And in fact, I think most of the companies now have really kind of optimized their platforms for this. And it's great to add on to other services. This is something that you can add on to all other things that you're doing in makeup. It's very flexible in that way. Now, the cons, this isn't a guaranteed income. So this isn't like your salon work, which I suppose not really guaranteed income either, but at least you know, if you've booked someone in, exactly how much you're going to make from that individual service. You don't have that with direct selling, okay? It's not guaranteed. It's very much, it was going to fluctuate massively. You've got to be a confident salesperson. Are you a confident salesperson? Personally, I'm not a salesperson. That's why I don't do it. But some people are brilliant at this. So if you're a confident salesperson and you're confident to sell, then this might be perfect for you. I'd be interested to know if anyone in the chat does this, actually does this already. There could be some startup costs. So they're going to range from anything from 20 quid to buy a starter kit all the way up to maybe 200, 300 pound. And there might be also some like kind of running costs. So you might have a monthly charge to host a site of your own. So you have to read the small print very carefully on these things to find out how this works. It's not without its need for work. It is going to be time consuming. You have to put the hours in. It's like any sales job, anything like that. You don't get to just go, hi guys, here's a face cream, please buy it. You have to incentivize people to buy the products so that you get the commission. And you have to be consistent as well. You can't start this at 1 week and then think people will just continue to buy from you. You have to be active at this. So if you're not someone who's good with consistency, it might not be the one for you.